What's up, beautiful people? What's up, beautiful people? Ah, got that good old agua, you heard? The good Evian. Yeah, I feel good. Make sure the audio's right. Last time I had some audio issues. We are back today. Let me see how it sounds. Oh, yeah, we sound good. That might sound right. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's make sure that we are going live on all of the platforms. A new introduced platform, which is Facebook. Let me double check to make sure that we are tapped in on our Facebook as well. Let's make sure. Quick. Yes, yes. Yeah, we are live. Oh, that is dope. I am pumped. I am ecstatic. It is up. Beautiful thing. So I see myself live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. This is my first time on Facebook. Oh, and I got the captions on, which is pretty fire. See it? Liddy. Liddy, 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 Liddy. Yes. Today we have a powerful podcast episode, which is our 27th episode. Let's give a round of applause. Where the applause at? For reaching the 27th episode of the Respectfully Great podcast. Yes, yes. Shout out to all of the loved ones that's out there right now in real time doing what they need to do. I know today, this week in itself, I know the children that went back to school, you are everybody's making adjustments, and that's the beauty and just living life daily is that we always are constantly changing. The only thing constant in this world is change, and we are constantly doing that. So today's episode, I'm going to jump right into it just to give the caveat and the premise of what's going on today for today's episode. Um, the down payments on your potential. That is the topic at hand. That's what we're going to be talking about. That's what we're going to cover. The ins, the outs, the good, the bad, the indifferences, all of these things that encompass making a down payment on your potential. We're going to explain the potential. We're going to explain all of these things, all these intricacies about how we able to learn and grow through these situations in our own circumstances. So let's give the proper introduction, which will be this right here. Every day we're either making deposits on a how about we start this all over from the very beginning. Every day we're either making deposits or withdrawals from the bank of our future. Some people wait for a miracle loan to arrive, while others quietly invest small deposits mentally, spiritually, and physically that compound into the future of growth. The big question that I have for you is, what are you depositing today? What are you depositing today? That is the premise of what's going on today. We are talking about deposits. We are talking about how we can maximize and grow our potential in order to see a better tomorrow, the type of investments that we have going on within um, our own future. So those are some of the things that we're going to cover as of today. Let me see, do I got any? Go to my comment section here. Okay, light work, beauty, beautiful thing, beautiful thing. Yes, yes. So, um, yes, let's just sprinkle this out there. When we talking about deposits, can anybody identify what are deposits? We normally associate deposits as going to the bank, right? We have some type of coin, money, some form of currency that we initially take and we put into a bank account. When I started to observe this topic at hand, I started to think about not only the form of currency and exchange of currency, right? When we talking about money in that form, I started to think about the deposits and the withdrawals that we make in our own lives. Every day we are doing something. Every day we are making an investment. Every day we are withdrawing. What are we doing? Where are we spending the time, money, and energy at? What are we making withdrawals on? What are we making deposits on? These are some of the things that I think about daily. These are some of the routines. These are some of the habits. These are some of the things that grab our attention. And we know that whatever we give our attention to tends to shape and mold our own livelihood according to that thing. And we all know that some things that we pay attention to may not suit us in the best way possible. It may lead us into behaviorisms or some type of behavior that we may, embody, take on, start to act out. We may start doing some of these things that may not yield a higher return on our investment. So when we talking about making deposits, there's all forms of deposits. There are deposits on our mental, right? On our mind, our mindset. There are deposits that we make on our spiritual, what's going on in the heart. And there are also deposits that we make on our physicality, the brute, the physical, the avatar, the body. There are some deposits that we make in all of these areas. So as we make these deposits, also know that in the world we deal with opposites, oppositions. We dealing with, okay, what goes up must come down. We dealing with polar opposites. So we know when we make initial deposits on our spirituality, we know that we have some spiritual demons out there per se, people that steal your spirit, people that toil with your spirit. They take away from withdrawal on your spirit. How about your mentality? We initially make deposits on our mental, but we know there are people out there that take away your mentality. They withdraw from your mental. They cause more chaos and confusion with your own mentality. How about the physical? The people that tell you don't go out there and exercise. Don't do that fast. Don't go for that extra walk. Don't go out there and practice your breathing. Don't eat that proper food or whatever. Just indulge in, the cookies, candy, the sweets, etc., the sugars. We know there are people out there that infuse or take away from that area where you're trying to grow in. So what I'm saying today is that there's so many forms and fashions of withdrawals and deposits that we make daily. Giancarlo Martinez, what's up, loved one? There's so many things that we invest our time, money, energy in that form of currency in that may not yield a higher return for us. And these are the things that we're going to unpack today. There's so many things that I learn daily. There's so many things I pay close attention to, and it's mainly my own life. I used to ignore just keeping it on the eye so we can get a clear picture on some of the things that we're going to talk about and unpack today that's going to directly relate to oneself, which is you, your own experience, the things that you experience daily, weekly. We dealing with some of these circumstances that may happenings, occurrences, things that we should go outside of our home, daily routines, habits, things that we indulge in. It all has a cause and effect when we do these things. It all yields a form of currency wherever we exert our energy at, whatever we give our attention to, we bring to life. So when you say, hey, I'm gonna go feed my family, you find ways in order to bring form of currency to you and your home so you be able to put food on that table. So when you go out to work, when you do that business deal, when you're doing, linking up, when you're dealing with other, fellow innovators and creators, and y'all come together as a collective and y'all share that form of currency energy, you guys are creating an existence that didn't happen before, but you are putting that energy towards something, which is normally positive when you're dealing with people that are innovative. But what if you are dealing with individuals, or you yourself is one person that is dealing with some level of stagnation, and your energy is just standing in one place, not doing anything, and then you start finding yourself around other individuals that lack the motivation, that lack the discipline, that lack in these areas of wanting to do and progress, they're actually taken away because you are one of the specimens, you are one of the birds that flock together that are using your energy, or more or less, how about we say, not using your energy correctly. And then we just stagnated in one place, and then we're not using our creativeness to create and to bring things into our own existence. So we keep repeating the same cycles, expecting a different result. Einstein says that insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So we know that if we don't change, nothing changes. But it's all about self. It's all about where you put your time, energy, what type of deposits are you are making on your mental, your spiritual, your physical. What areas are you making these initial deposits in? Are you yielding a higher return when you do it? So these are some of the things that we want to unpack and talk about. And when I talk about oneself, I find myself constantly making deposits and withdrawals with my own life. I'm the per se the guinea pig in that instance, or I'm the person that's living through the testimony. I'm creating it as we speak now. And I find myself just initially depositing some energy in certain areas when it comes to my health, when it comes to my mental, when it comes to my spiritual. I'm always looking to invest in that and making a down payment on that in certain areas. But I also need to know that some of the things I need to do is just unlearn and unpack and withdraw with some of the same things that I thought may be good for me after, going through the trial and error phases and started to find out, okay, you know what, me putting my time and energy into this one thing right here is not yielding me the return that I initially was looking for. So just give an example. Me talking about my health, right? Just use the physicality aspect. I started to I've been working out on and off, right? Well, I've been consistent, but I'm saying that in the midst of me having injuries in the past, there'll be seasons where I'll be, full-fledged working out, doing my thing 2, 3 months strong. And then I go through a spell where I have some level of injury, then I digress, and then I don't do that thing for a while. And I start to see my body change, not for the better, but when we dealing with uh disorder, chaos, entropy, things that over time initially decay. That's what happens to the body when you don't be in motion, when you don't use all of the faculties within your body, when you don't move the muscles, it starts to deteriorate. So me talking about that in that aspect, I started to see changes up and down, up and down, up and down. As of lately, I've been more consistent with exercising, feeding my body normally the right things, um, waking up, getting a proper sleep, throwing in the other things on top of it that get me motivated to do the things such as prayer, get my daily water, all these other things that just enable me to get to the gym, just exercise. What I started to figure out is that when I started to put more deposits in that area, started to see growth. I had a personal PR the other day, which is my personal best, my personal record. Um, I did 225, may not be, for my own thing. I actually just repped out 3 times on the incline. Normally do one, barely get out two, end up hitting three. And what I'm saying is that over time, with the initial deposits that we do make, things grow and things compound. That's just one area. Over time, I know I would get to a place to where I'll be more suited if I'm consistent enough, if I'm disciplined enough, if I take in all of the things that I know I initially can do to make me a better individual for tomorrow. That initial deposit, that's a good seed that was planted. That was a good deposit. When I wasn't doing those things, I was actually taken away. I was withdrawing, and I didn't get the results I intend to get. Purple Heart Mark, what's up, loved one? So what I'm saying is that every day we are depositing or withdrawing from some area in our lives. And my question for you today is, what are you doing? What are you depositing? What are you withdrawing? It could be positive, it could be negative, it could be some things that you need to work on. It could be some things that just bringing nothing but greatness to you and your mission and designing your purpose in the process. I know that every day it's going to be a challenge when we seek challenges, right? Laura Boyd says that in order for our minds to grow and how we get strengthened mentally and able to for us to being able to do stronger and better things in our future is that we got to come up with challenges. We got to challenge ourselves every day. So that means that we submissive and docile and we don't do anything and we just stay stagnant. Stagnation, it actually kills the drive, it kills the discipline, it kills the premise of your whole purpose if you designing your purpose. So once emotion stays in motion, but we never get in motion, how do we expect ourselves to change our conditions? And these are the things that we need to expound about, because I know that we all share the same type of sentiment on some level. There are different variances from people because I may not care about a particular thing the way you care about it, and vice versa. There be some things that you hold in high regard that I dismiss. And what I'm saying is that if we able to share the sentiment behind what drives us, what keeps us stagnant, what gives us the incentive to want to go out there and be better individuals for tomorrow, what things are we accomplishing on smaller scales, what deposits are we making on a smaller scale that we know that will compound over time, whether they're bad vices, things that we know we need to stay away from, those withdrawals that we need to have, or some of the things that we do, daily, that just compound, that we know, hey, initially I may not see the result at the moment, but I know that if I tend to wake up at a certain time, I tend to get to the gym and I work on my physicality, even if I don't do the best for that day, it's better than being at home not doing anything. So what I'm saying is that there are some things in our lives that we can learn from ourselves and real life events, real life occurrences from other people's circumstances, businesses, etc. Let's take um if we don't know, there was a company, right, by the name of Blockbuster at one point in time. This is where, well, for anybody in the chat, can anybody identify what Blockbuster is, what it looks like? Because this is for some of the older individuals that just been around during this time, but you may heard the term Blockbuster if you are younger. But for people that don't know, can anybody just expound on what Blockbuster was or what it is as of today, or what it was, was in the past tense, right? Give it a second or two as I drink some of this agua to share your thoughts. Ty, what's up, Ty? How you feeling, loved one? All right, let's talk about it. Blockbuster was a video renting space to where at the time we was using video cassettes, CDs, etc. And we will be able to go and get movies that came out on DVD, video cassette tapes, CD, etc. We was able to go before we had the DVRs, before we had the Netflixes, right? These other companies that came in that took innovation to another level. Blockbuster had got phased out. The reason being that they got phased out because there were other competitive companies that came into the space that were a little bit more innovative, that dealt with a little bit more innovation. Just close this tab out. That dealt with a little bit more innovation. Get out of this. What's going on over here? That dealt with a little bit more innovation. Meaning this: Netflix took a business model to where we turned, Blockbuster into a streaming platform per se. Blockbuster had the opportunity to do what Netflix is doing today. Since Blockbuster was stagnant and didn't invest in the area of creation and innovation, they got phased out and no longer a business model. When they had the opportunity to turn over to a streaming platform, to turn all of the cassettes, CDs, etc., into a form of digital downloads, turn it into the internet or a service or a server to where they be able to get all of the videos, the DVDs, games, etc., on some type of platform to where they still can be in business today. So when we talk about deposits and withdrawals, if we're looking from a business perspective or daily life when it comes to people and how they do and how they can structure their businesses, we know that some people that make higher, more thought-provoking deposits, and some other individuals stay stagnant and they actually, make the wrong withdrawals, such as Blockbuster compared to Netflix. We're dealing with stagnation. Swift, what's up, loved one? Peace, God. Me and the God had a wonderful build earlier. Big shout out to Rob Swift. What's up, bro? Yeah. So when we talking about some of these pain points of not changing, not wanting to change, we see how it can affect livelihoods. You see how it can affect businesses, such as Blockbuster compared to Netflix. If you were to say that some of the deposits in your life, where you initially made some good investments and some bad ones, if you were to highlight what are some of the areas where mentally, physically, spiritually, that you have made some initial great deposits and your return on it was a great investment, or some areas in your life where you made some withdrawals and it actually was, pretty much detrimental to you in some form or fashion, or some areas where we needed to make some of these withdrawals, or some people mentally, spiritually, physically was taken away from who you are, what you do, and initially your innovation, your creativeness. How did that affect you? Because I know there's some areas in my life where I made some decisions and it affected me. Every day I make decisions that could be a positive one or a negative one. And it's all about how I utilize that occurrence, that circumstance or that situation to my benefit. There's some way that I initially can use these things to my benefit. But who's to say? How do I look at life? How do I position myself to use these things as initial deposits for a better tomorrow? Or am I taking just constant withdrawals from my areas of my life to where I'm dealing with stagnation, not growing? Some things that I can't get over. It's just me getting over self, me not being able to get over self. Look myself in the mirror and say, hey, am I doing what's necessary in order for me to get from point A to point B? This is some of the things that I deal with daily. And as I learn and grow through some areas where I'm strengthened at, some areas where I'm weaker at, I start to have a better understanding of me. What I learned over time is that the more and more you start to get more familiar with you, we start talking about predictability. We're talking about innovation. We're talking about having a different level of insight, higher probability, higher probability. What I mean by this, I mean that once you start getting more familiar, you see a thing constantly. Say somebody that goes to the basketball gym and they shoot layups every day, 1,000 layups every day. They know how a layup's supposed to roll up their fingers. They know where they supposed to position their feet. They know what leg they need to take off on. They so familiar with that becomes pretty much fluid, right? And through the repetition, they get so familiar to where they have a higher probability and predictability on where the ball may end up in the bottom of the net. What I'm saying is this: the more we start getting familiar with oneself, we have a higher probability of understanding on where we can go, what are our strengths and what our weaknesses, and how to position ourselves to get from point A to point B that serve us for a better tomorrow. These are some of the things where I started to learn with oneself. What am I good at? What I'm not so good at? What people do I attract to? What people do I repel? How can this person or this thing or this environment serve me at a higher level? Damn, I thrive in this area. I'm not so good in this area. What I started to learn about self is that, man, the more and more I get familiar with me, the more and more I have autonomy, the more and more I have control or insight, the more and more I can have higher levels of predictability on what may end up like X, Y, and Z, depending on where I exert my energy at. So those deposits, those withdrawals, these are some of the decisions that we make daily. People will call it maybe intuition. Damn, how did they see that coming? Ha. How did they know that he was going to take off with that leg with the layup and end up in the bottom of the net? Or how did that person know to move out the way running on a football field? How did that person know that, the market is going to crash per se? How did they know to take out their money? How did they know where to, or when to take the medicine for whatever reason, or when they need to start drinking the tea before they get sick? Some people have a higher level of intuition because of having more in tuneness with oneself, having that predictability, knowing where to exert their energy at, start looking at themselves as, you know what, through trial and error, I know when I do X, Y, and Z, this yield me a different type of return. So what I started to understand is that every day we are making deposits in form of fashion. These are some of the things that I know I go through, that I know that we all experience on some level. But it's all about, where do we want to be at in our lives? Do we plan? Do we initially put those seeds in the ground and waiting for it to grow? Or do we look for overnight success? Do we look for somebody else to bring us to, the well to drink? Are we dependent on oneself? Do we trust ourselves? These are the questions that I need to ask, not only self, but I want to ask to you to ask yourself. Do you trust yourself enough to put yourself in certain positions or environments? Because I know that we all deal with some level of maybe insecurity, maybe some level of confidence. Something, these are always toiling when it comes to our character, on who we are, where we want to be at. Some people say we deal with a lot of imposter syndrome. You want to try a new thing. So you go out there in the real world and you do something for the first time and you're not a success at it initially. So we deal with some level of failure. And then from that point on, you just keep blaming yourself as a failure, because you failed the one time, not understanding that you get perfection through the failure. meaning that once you don't know a thing and the more and more you do it, the more you get familiar with it, you start building up different levels of tolerance. You start building up a different level of predictability. You start building up a different level of intuition. So now when you start doing the thing, you have a higher probability of knowing the outcome. Although, isn't everything don't go in accordance all the time. But if you shot 1,000 layups, the possibility or the predictability that the chances or the ratio that you would get the basketball inside the bucket or inside the net is higher than somebody that never take layups, somebody that never do a thing. This goes into all the areas of our lives when it comes to the levels of discipline, the things that we see, we want to strive, serving our purpose. The more that we do a thing, the more we get and build up levels of tolerance. And then now you start to build up that level of trust within oneself. And now we have the confidence to go out there in the real world to do a thing. That's what it's about. That's what it's about, from you designing your world that you want to live in. I heard something the other day, and it's somewhere along the lines about stop verifying the world that you don't want to live in. And let me rephrase that. Let me say it one more time. Let me enhance it. Let me just put more emphasis on it. Stop verifying the world that you don't want to live in. Man, when I heard that, that was so powerful. So powerful. It made me think on so many other levels on how much do I co-sign a world that I say I don't want to live in, meaning that my own ideologies, the people, places, the things that I don't want to be associated with, I keep verifying it, meaning that I keep showing up and identifying that that thing right there is a part of me, part of my existence, a part of my thought process, part of my own experiences. Every day I keep verifying it, but I really want to get away from it. But I don't, because I keep recognizing that that thing is in existence. I thought that was so profound, so powerful. And it made me think about the areas of our lives when we have, a shortcoming and we want to come out of that thing. And we just constantly holding on to these ideologies about a particular thing. If somebody that's dealing with poverty, oh, I would never make it out of this circumstance because of, look where I live. Look who are my loved ones or my parents or my siblings or my teacher or my pet or whoever, my job, my boss, whoever. They would never, approve me for a raise, or this person over here. They would never co-sign my thoughts and my belief systems. The thing is that we keep looking for verification and we keep verifying that those people need to be part of your world or your existence. How about you go out there and create the people that you want to be around, create the environment that you want to be around, create the relationships that you want to verify. Stop verifying the things that you don't want and start verifying the things that you want to be part of your new creation, your new world, the world that you want to live in. If you say, listen, I want to be around happy people, declare that. We first got to start identifying, okay, what is that? What does that look like? See, I keep being noticed. I keep bringing all my attention to the thing that's over there, the thing that I say that I don't want, but I keep verifying it. That's the deposit in the wrong areas. This is where we need to start making initial withdrawals from. This is where we started saying, hey, you know what? I need to take away from that thing right there. I need to remove myself from that thing right there because I don't want to be associated with it. But the only person that has that power is you. But we tend to give our power away to other people, places, and things. And then once the other thing has control over who we are and control over the mind, it controls the spiritual, it controls the physical, it controls all of these things that we say we don't want, or just initially that's a part of us, who we are. We only can live in existence that we only can live in the world that we can think of. We can only live on how we perceive things to be. So if you can't think out of your condition, if you can't become the problem solver to your own issues, if you can't become bigger than the problem, how do we ever solve the problems? If we think that the problem is just beating us up and we can't do nothing about it, we keep attaching ourselves to that problem instead of being solution based. These are the deposits and the withdrawals when it comes to our potential. Because once we start to recognize our own potential, once we start to maximize our potential, there's endless amounts of things that you can do great in this world. We can start the engines. We can start on that path, on that journey to create our purpose. Because everybody is purposeful. Everybody is purposeful, but some people don't tap into their purpose. Some people don't design their purpose. Some people don't tap into their own attributes. Some people don't use their leverage. Some people don't look at themselves as somebody that's worthy of to do a thing. That's because we have so many people taken away from us that we can't find who we are. A piece is over here, a piece is over there, a piece is over here, a piece is over there. And then we try to come back and center ourselves. We all over the place. Everybody got a piece of you, but you don't got a piece of you. Everybody has a piece of you, but you don't have a piece of you. And we wondering why we can't get centered. We wonder why we can't bring ourselves in for a better tomorrow, a better future. These are some of the things that, beat us down, that wear us down. But we have opportunity to get over those things. We have opportunity to get over those things. And it all starts with self. It all starts with the deposits that we make. Deposits on our own potential. What are you willing to invest to get from point A to point B? What are you willing to invest to change your circumstance? What are you willing to let go of and withdraw to change your circumstance? What vices are you willing to let go of in order to make a change in your life? What people are you willing to let go of? What environments are you willing to change? What mindset are you willing to let go of? The thoughts that you have. How can you start curating thoughts that, are progressive, or more thought-provoking, or more solution-based? How do we start doing more of those things? How? We have solutions for that. We start getting around the thing. We start comparing ourselves to not idol worship. We start comparing ourselves to not idol worship. We start comparing ourselves to not idol worship. Things that we want to attach to our own character. If we see greatness, we want to be part of greatness. How about we attach ourselves to greatness, not idol worship? If we want to be somebody of respect, how about we start deeming ourselves and compare ourselves to people that command the same respect that we are looking for? How about we start acting as if we are respected already? I learned something super profound from Dr. Ali. Man, I watch this brother, I listen to this brother, and I get so much insight about life, right? In the past, I read a book, what's the name of it? As a Man Thinketh, right? But when I initially started to think about past, present, and future, I heard some things around that during that time. Yes. Okay. Before we jump into that, I have to make a commercial break. So right now we're gonna jump into a really quick commercial. It's only gonna take about a minute or two, and I'll definitely be right back. So hold on to your seats. Don't go far. We'll be right back with the commercial. Peace, beloveds. Thank you for tuning in to the Respectfully Great podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Reed, and I appreciate your continuous support. Do you know that over 80% of the people that watch our channel aren't subscribed? By subscribing to our channel, you give us the opportunity to bring on more guests to add more value to our channel. To join our growing community, head over to respectfullygreat.com, sign up for our email list to get exclusive updates on empowering blogs, as well as the latest and greatest in Respectfully Great fashion. Once again, it's nothing but big love, and we value your commitment. We are back from our commercial break. That was super dope. I'm appreciative. Corum, what's up, loved one? I am super Shadow NY. What's up, loved one? Super appreciative for everybody that's tapped in and tuned in to our podcast. I was getting to a subject matter. I was talking about a book talking about As a Man Thinketh. But when I was talking about Dr. Ali, brought something so prevalent about time. And I thought this is super profound. When we talk about time, right? People think about past, present, and future. We think of it as a linear thing, not spirit, not circular or spiritual or spherical, like in a spear realm. When it's not linear, meaning that at this very moment, we are actually writing our future as we speak right now. In real time, we are actually laying down the foreground for what people are going to come up against or see or experience in the near future. This podcast is going to live on YouTube. Some people may see it a week from now, tomorrow, tonight, or experience it presently right now. One thing I heard that he really, really expound on is that we have the opportunity to even change our past. So this really had me on the edge of my seat. So I'm like, what's my brother talking about? Where's he going with this one? The thing is, we all have a past. The past started at some point. Do you know that at this very moment, you have an opportunity to rewrite what already happened in the past or erase what already happened in the past? People look at me like, well, how is that possible? The way we're able to do that is literally by not remembering that story, that occurrence, wiping it from our memory, or change the narrative of what happened during that time in the past. Meaning that how we associated with the thing at a particular time, we can rewrite to ourselves presently on how that occurrence happened. Prime example, I had a misfortune, right? At the time, sprained my wrist or my leg, whatever, in real time. I had an injury, had surgery on my leg. Thought it was the worst thing at the time. Thought it was bad then. What I have the opportunity to do at this very moment is say that, hey, remember that time I had that knee surgery? That was actually the best thing that happened to me. The best thing that happened to me. The best thing that happened to me. Why? Because I started to do things that I never done before. I gained so much I could change the narrative of something that happened in the past that I thought was a misfortune. I can rewrite that story today to be a story of victory, something of glory, something I can be proud of, something I can go back and relate to as occurrence that happened that served me at a higher purpose, serendipity, something that happened by happenstance or chance that came back to serve me on a higher level today. That's the power of rearranging what happened in the past for the present. I have the opportunity to change the future by what's happening right now. What am I saying? I'm saying that there's no set time or place for what things happen into our lives. We actually have the opportunity to change interchangeably the order of occurrences. We can actually live out our future right now by thinking that we're already there, living, acting, breathing, carrying out the behavior of what we want to be like in the near future right now. And then our world changes. How we look at the world changes. We have the opportunity at this very moment to change what happened in the past by rewriting that story or that occurrence. That's that story that didn't happen in the best way that you initially thought it was, that happened. That you thought of that story as being something you need to be ashamed of. We could turn that story into something of victory, something that you could be proud of, something that you say, you know what, there was turmoil there, but I turned that into my victory. I overcame. That's my strength. That story that people had hurt, pain, and despairing, I turned that terrible turmoil story into one of victory. Because look, now I can represent that story as one of strength because I made it through today. That's how we'll be able to change our past. We can rewrite the past. We can rewrite the future. We can live out the future right now in the present. We could change the present to the past or live it out in the future or just live it at the very moment. That's the power. There is no order to how we deal with time and place and occurrences. Past, present, and future can always be interchanged. When I heard this from Dr. Ali, man, it blew my mind. It made me look at life in a totally different spectrum. I got a whole different insight about how I see life, like where I want to be at in my life, where I'm going to be at in my life. I could write those stories right now. That's the deposits. That's how we start to get from to and from. This is how we start building up the tolerance. We act in accordance to who we want to be. We start living like we want to be or who we want to be in the near future at this very moment. If you want to be somebody of love, care, and concern, you start love, care, and concerning at the very moment. So now the hate that initially is that the hate that's initially attached to you from people, how you self-identify, from occurrences or whatever that you attach to yourself to say, you know what, I shouldn't be this honorable person. You have the opportunity to change that at this very moment by, you know what, who I want to be in the near future. How about I act that out right now? How about starting right now in real time in this very moment? I'm somebody that's worthy of, somebody that's dealing with respect, somebody that's honorable, somebody that's not ashamed, somebody that's victorious. How about I change those negative connotations to who you were once in the past or how you associated with the past? How about we start living out the future of who we want to be today and watch how life start to change? I'm saying these things because I've experienced it myself. I'm experiencing it like in real time. I see things in my life that every day are changing, from seeds that are planted, how I self-identify, who I associate with, when I associate, how I associate. I'm the one that have control over that. I got control over what's going on with me in my life. I'm the designer. I am the creator. I'm the one that has self-autonomy. I don't worry about what the world is doing. I worry about what's going on with me. And how do I want to create the world that I live in? That's creation. That's innovation. That's the deposits. These are the things that we always have control over, but we give our power away, so we become powerless. We give our power away, so we become powerless. Exclusive by five. What's up, loved one? So what do we start doing? How do we start acting? Who can we be when we start reinstilling that same power or that autonomy within oneself, that level of responsibility, that I can identity? That person that says, you know what, there's nothing that I can accomplish, or that solution based individual, not looking for problems or associated with the problems. Who can you be today that will serve you in the near future? How about the person that you see yourself being in the future? How about we act it out real now? Because we start knowing now that time has no order. Time has no order. We can make the present the future. We can rewrite the past, and we can put them interchangeably. Some people are still in the past. You know how they still in the past? Because the only thing they talk about is about what they did back in the day. Back in my day, we did this, or we did things like this. We did things like this. Or let me tell you what we did last year. Or let me tell you what we did the year before. They keep living in the past. And he right here in the physical in the present. And then what's up, Tiff? And then we wondering why these people are not growing, or they're stagnated, because their whole mindset is still stuck in the past. But when you listen to people in real time that's talking about the future, forward progression, the things they doing and how innovative they are, the things they working on, those people are living in the future in the present. Big difference in mindset. So what I'm saying is that there's no order to time. There's no order to placement. We the ones that give time, place, energy to whatever existence that we want to be in. We have the power to do that. But a lot of times we give our power away. We give our power to people, places, and things. And then when we have, no power, when we powerless, we on that string. Now we pulled in every direction. We can't center self. So sometimes those withdrawals of letting go is what's necessary. Sometimes those other deposits and those other areas into the future, into who you desire to be, are the best deposits, because you're the only person that got to live in your existence, in your world. Everybody else can be a part of your world, but you're the creator, you're the designer. You're the person that made every association. Okay, how does this person serve me? How does this environment serve me? How does my finances serve me? How does this relationship serve me? How does my business venture serve me? How does me being innovative serve me? How does my creativeness serve me? Am I designing my purpose? Am I living my purpose? All those things are a part of you, but we give all our power away to everybody else, our attention, our money, our time, our resources. And then we wondering why we dealing with lack of self-control. We dealing with lack of self-control because we're not the ones that's controlling ourselves. Everybody else that we give our attention to is controlling ourselves. Those are the ones that got control of us. So we feel like, damn, I just can't get over the hump with this. I can't get myself out of this. You know why you can't get yourself out of that circumstance? Because you didn't give yourself the power to do it. You gave your power away to somebody else. You gave it to that donut. You gave it to that cookie. You're not fasting. You gave it to watching TV or doing something else that you know you need to be doing. That's where your power went to. And then now we sitting there looking kind of dumbfounded, like, damn, I just can't change. And we have all the power to change when we give ourselves back the power. So we got to take our power back. Sometimes you got to make withdrawals and deposits. How you making these things? That's the key. Let's bring it down to, let's go with let's bring it here. Let's bring it to we can skip that. Skip that. Skip that. Skip that. Oh, this is the good one. We're talking about prominent figures, right? We name an individual like Warren Buffett, arguably one of the best investors during that time, right? From what we experienced. Um, he had made some initial deposits. One of his deposits that he made is being an avid reader. Avid reader. Do you know that this man reads about 500 pages a day? 500 pages a day. What does that do to the level of thinking? What does that do to levels of comprehension? What does that do to awareness? It brings a person to having a sound knowledge that be more data driven. B Mays, what's up, loved one? Peace, God. Cake Boys in the building. What's up, God? What does that do to the level of insight? Now that you have a different level of data, how much do you have to compare yourself to versus somebody that doesn't read or invest in knowledge yourself? You can make more better sound, higher predictability, higher possibility uh choices because now you have a different level of data. 500 pages a day gives you so much data to choose from. So your compare and contrast is totally different for somebody that never studied a day in their life. That gives the higher probability. Higher probability. Okay, if I do this thing a particular way, I've seen this story play out 99 times. People like us do things like this. People like us do things like this. People like us do things like this. What do I mean? I mean that people that are financially astute, they tend to make similar decisions when it comes to finances, how they invest their money, what type of deposits that they make. They tend to say, you know what? Okay, do I put some money here? Do I put money in the bank? Do I put money under the pillow? They know the difference or they know the value of the dollar. And you know that in order to make money, you got to have the money in circulation. So that means that you got to invest and let your money make money for you. People that don't understand how the money game go, right? Myself included, learning the money game is that, okay, we just can't have money tucked under the mattress because we know that over time, the value of the dollar depreciates. So over time, your initial $1,000 within a year or two will be only $970 because of the market value, because the dollar is losing its value. And then 5 years from now, if you don't invest the money's still tucked under the mattress, that initial $1,000 be worth $900. You lost $100. So the only way in order to keep afloat or keep the money in circulation to grow more money is that we got to learn how to invest. And these are some of the areas in our lives where we don't want to make initial investments on our spirituality. We don't want to make initial investments on our physicality. We don't want to make initial investments on our mentally. So we don't invest like Warren Buffett did with his education and reading 500 pages a day. How about we start with one? How about say, you know what? I never read a day in my life, or I never looked towards a form of education in no form of fashion. I don't look at my own life and say that, hey, I am the testimony. I am the guinea pig. I have gone through a certain thing. I have certain sound knowledge. If I have this data, right, and I store this information, how can I use this same data to make a better sound decision for tomorrow? Some people be redundant and do the same process over and over and over again and never learn because they're not really evaluating what's going on in their own life. They don't do self audits. So the first, before we start conquering what's going on around the world, how about we start conquering oneself? How about we start drawing that attention back to oneself? How about we start giving ourselves the level of autonomy to be able to make those sound decisions? We dealing with levels of, we talk about agency. Agency is just being able to make a decision, right? We talk about agency all the time. Some people, it's hard for people. Some people just to make a regular decision. And then once you start being able to make a decision, then we start getting to levels of wisdom, meaning that we can become prudent. We make wise decisions now. Now, since we have all of the data that's in front of us, we have our livelihood that we have lived in our own experiences and these occurrences. Over time, we start seeing patterns because patterns show up. Patterns show up in our lives. If we do a particular thing a particular way, it yields a particular outcome. And then we start comparing itself. We start comparing, um, how how we do a particular thing and the results that it made. We start looking at other people's stories. Say, hey, they done the same thing, and this story sounds similar to mine. Not the same exact, because we all live different lives. But if we do a certain thing, we start to yield a certain return. That means that creatures of habits, birds of a feather flock together. People like us do things like this. It's a culture behind it. People that's tied to a culture or religion or something of that nature. It's certain formats that people follow that yield them or bring them to a place of operation. It brings them to a place of how they cohabitat within a system. You can be part of the system or opposed of a system. Something else that Dr. Ali said as well is that just because people have systems, um people use systems differently. People don't have the same ideology behind the system. What's up, Quay? What's up, sis? Powerful event the other day. Give you big shout out, big kudos. I'm super, super proud of y'all. Y'all did a hell of a job. I seen a news clip. I'm trying to get a clear audio so I can post that thing. I got yours, but if worst case scenario, I'm throwing that thing up too. Don't worry about that. But powerful event, over 500 kicks. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Yes, beautiful thing. Love everything that you are doing out there, and keep being innovative, keep growing, keep doing your thing. You got a lot of people standing behind you and your mission. So continue to do what you need to do, loved one. Yes, yes. I had more tonight. Absolutely, family. Absolutely. Yeah, the God got a different look tonight. You heard? God definitely got a different look tonight. You dig it? But yeah, these are some of the mindsets that we attach ourselves to, and we always have the room for those different levels of growth. But we got to start reinstilling that power within oneself. So once we start identifying who we are and start giving ourselves that power back, then doors will start to open up. Now we have wise decisions that we can make. We can be more open minded. We can start looking for potential growth, and that we can start making higher probability decisions, more wise decisions. But we got to get to a place to actually do the one thing first. We can't conquer the world without conquering oneself, because the world that we living in is our own perspectives. The world that we are living in is our own perspectives. The world that we are living in is our own perspectives. So what we need to do is we need to start making deposits or withdrawals depending on what world we want to live in, because you're the designer of your own world. This is what we be missing in our own communities and our own livelihoods. We keep giving our power away. We keep giving deposits in the wrong areas. Okay, instead of me spending money on, going to the boom boom room tonight, how about I take that money and put it towards some form of education? Let me make that investment. I wanted to start that t-shirt brand, or I wanted to start a food drive, or I wanted to start, you know, being a sports analysis, or I want to go to school or college or some other form of education, or I want to be part of this group, or I want to have that new set of beat headphones, whatever it is that you want to do. You have the opportunity to make that investment. But if we choosing to put the money in the wrong areas, how do we expect to yield that return on it? We won't. These are the decisions that we got to make up every day, but we living with them. These are normal decisions, but we don't understand that everything compounds. Our habits compound, our habits stack. They have a thing called habit stacking, meaning that, okay, you can start out being a janitor, right? Just prime example. Somebody goes for a work environment, they start out to be the janitor. But since the janitor sweeping, mopping, cleaning all the areas in the building, this janitor get wind of the accounting office. One day he shows up and say, hey, although I'm familiar with this whole building, I specialize in math. Let me go into the accounting office. Let me converse with somebody in here. Let them know that I'm good with numbers. To see where this takes me. The skill set of learning the building navigated this personnel to the accounting room. Good with numbers. Now this person's in a room dealing with numbers. Great. Has the accounting job. That accounting job, just initially in that one building, whatever, takes that personnel to be not only a person of head of accounting, leads them down to be part of some firm, right? Now this person has potential to go out there and run his own, hit his or her own business. Now they got the, the wherewithal to, take these skill sets from being accounting, led them over to be in some other, other realm to where they be able to stack their expertise of learning from accounting to be a business owner to some high equity firm or whatever. Now they be able to disperse their money or understand finances. And now people come to them for financial advice on how to disperse their money or knowing where to put the money. What I'm saying is that once we start doing one thing in one area, it can carry over to other areas of our lives to where we can start stacking our skill sets. This is what happens when we start to compound our attributes, our abilities. The things that we do over time can grow. And this is some of the things that we miss out on because we don't pay close attention to them. It get overlooked. It get overlooked and drowned with other people's thoughts, perceptions, and ideas of what you need to be doing with your life. People would dismiss the great things that you are, how you came to be, the things you have gone through, your own testimony. People would dismiss who you are today as if you don't have no value. But it takes you to go dig deep and say, you know what? Hey, I find value within oneself because you have the opportunity to stand right in front of whoever and declare that in some form or fashion. No, you know what? The past, yeah, I might have been an a-hole back in the day. But the a-hole led me to be where I'm at today. And today I'm identifying with somebody of intellect and somebody of respect. So no longer can you associate me with being the a-hole. What we talk about when we talked about changing the order of the events, that's the power that you have. But the only person that can do that is you. We let other people have autonomy over us, have control of us because they got our mind, they got our spirituality, they got our physicality because they feeding us the donut every night. But we can't figure out why we stuck in this position because we haven't instilled power back into oneself. All of these things are always deposits and withdrawals. And this whole premise of us building today about the subject matter is that every day we doing something. You can be adding or taking away. Rah, rah. What's up, loved one? Peace, God. Every day we are doing something that's even adding or taking away to our future. And you have the power to change that. Uncle Jay, what's up, loved one? Uncle TJ, what's up, God? That's the God name. Yeah, we always have the power to do that. But it's big love, definitely, Rod. Unlimited love, God. But that's the power that we have, or we don't have. So these are some of the things I want us to pay real close attention to because people would dismiss your journey. People would dismiss you from happenstances, from things that occurred in the past, who you were once attached to, or what you choose to attach yourself to. Everybody gets labeled, but the only perspective that matters more than anybody is yourself. How you see self, how you look at yourself in the mirror, because that's what counts. 20 minutes walking. Mm. We talk about David Goggins. They have something up here where talk about David Goggins. David Goggins is one of those individuals that, stop at no cause, right? No breaks. Meaning that every day he has a premonition to go out there and just be the best version of himself and better than anybody in the world. That gives him the drive. That's the part of his story. The one time he was big, overweight, depressed, ended up going to the service, went to the service, broke many records, the pull-up record. He done many wonderful things of like God versus humanity. He just went out there and challenged himself in ways that most people would never challenge themselves. But the thing that I learned from him is that using his story as a testimony or something that we can just learn from is that you have the power to do anything. He was overweight at one time. Now the guy is super fit, but it all changed with the mindset. It all changed with the mindset. Abused when he was younger as well. He was abused. So people that dealt with abuse, um, in any form of fashion, mental abuse, physical abuse, spiritual warfare. There's somebody that's always trying to grab your attention. And just because we may be in the same systems, like Dr. Ali said, we all can be in the same system, but some people don't use the systems the same way. Some people may use this system for growth and advancement. Some people may use that same exact system that you're using to keep you submissive and docile, to handicap you so you can't grow. Think about some of these relationships. How many of these relationships that we get in with friends, family, people, environments, etc., that we say that we are committed to, and then the times that they don't need you, they let you go. But you devote all your time, your money, your energy, your resources. How about jobs? How about people that go to work every day, devoted, committed, etc., and then when they find somebody else that they feel could do a better job than you, paying them lower rate, um, for whatever reason, or investing into their future of lower, spending less money, buying somebody else that they may not be as qualified as you, but they kick you out the door. What does that show for their love, loyalty? They didn't care. They kicked you to the curb. They kicked you to the curb. So where do we stand at now? Once people take advantage of you in that area, that capacity, now you left with oneself. So now you got to use your own wits to get yourself back on track. But this what I'm saying is that people use and abuse you at their own discretion. So instead of being somebody that's tug of war all the time, getting pulled in every direction, how about you center self and you choose where you want to be at in your own life? Berg, what's up, loved one? Berg in the building, Skull God. How about you choose on what areas that you want to be able to show up and serve in? How about you just show up and be the best version of yourself without nobody else telling you what you can and can't do? How about you start building up that perspective from oneself to say, you know what, I can choose and do whatever I want to do in my own life, regardless of who agree or who oppose. How about we can just let go of those past stigmas or those past labels that people try to put on us? Oh, this person right here was no good. Or this person right here was a scumbag, or she was this, or she was a whole this, that, pop, pop, pop. People say a lot of things about a lot of us, right? And at the end of the day, if we attach ourselves to those thoughts and those ideologies about who we are from those thoughts and all those people that are not favorable, the people that don't care about you, what type of people will we be in real time? How we ever gonna get out of the mental warfare, the drowning? How we ever gonna get out of that? I listen to Gary Vee. Gary Vee said, "Get around people that love you enough to tell you the truth. That's the most valuable thing. Not people that enable, not people that coddle, not people to tell you that you're right, knowing damn well that you're wrong. How about we just get around people that tell us the truth? Because that's where the value is at. That somebody can look in your face, look in your eyes, and say, you know what? I love you, and I'm only telling you this out of love. What you're doing right now is a great thing or a bad thing. And at the end of the day, it's still their perspective. But how about we just build a community around people to where we can trust one another? Because if we're looking at everybody with the side eye, like, man, she a snake. Man, he a snake. If we're looking at everybody as the op, how you think you're looking at yourself? You don't even trust yourself. You don't even trust yourself. Myron Golden said, "We the only people that heard every lie that we told in our lives. We the only people that heard every lie that we told. Yeah, we may told this person down the street a lie. We may told he or she a lie. We may have been, not telling the truth all the way about this particular thing. So when we got a habit and we build up certain routines of doing things like this for a long duration, we start adapting that ideology. We start thinking that we are these type of people. So no matter how other people try to come in and shake you for a different direction, or even when you're trying to get up off that stool and just make a different change in direction, it's very, very hard because we adapted to that own ideology. So now we got to fight self in order to change even that. We got to fight our own selves to change how we feel about oneself. It's possible, but you know how you start doing that? Start attaching yourself to great things. Start attaching things to the opposite of what you don't want to be part of. How about we stop verifying the life or the world that we don't want to be a part of? Stop verifying it. Stop verifying it. A lot of times we just keep this attachment and we build these long, drawn out relationships with things that don't serve us at the highest level. We committed to the wrong things, committed to the wrong environments, committed to the wrong people, committed to the wrong establishment, committed to the wrong vices, committed to the wrong, thought processes. Yo, just because we did things like this my whole life means I got to continue the same ideology. How? We didn't learn from what's going on in the past. We didn't learn anything. We didn't improve it. How about improving? Even if you still want to do some of the same things you did when you was 12, how can you make that same thing better though? Because we all know that everything has room for improvement. How did you make that thing better? So even staying the same in that context, even great things that you hold on to, it still can be improved. Still could be improved. So when we choose to stay in one form of fashion, whether it was good or bad, understand we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing ourselves a disservice, even if we're doing good things good and we don't want to improve those things that are already good. We still do ourselves a disservice. We still showing that we're not innovative enough. Same thing that happened to Blockbuster with Netflix. Yeah, it was a great thing when it was around, but when the times changed, they didn't want to change. The innovation had left. So now the business model had left. What happens when you build those relationships with people, places, and things? How about that attachment? Yeah, we got something good going here. How can we make it better? How can we be more committed, help more driven, more disciplined? How can we help one another? How can we help this thing? How can we help the project? How can we help the next person? How can we help oneself? How can I prove myself? Do I need to implement the fasting? Mama loves leveled her level. I bring my moms up in a lot of these conversations because the way that she operates, the way that she shows her discipline, she just level up in so many ways. And I see why my mom accomplished a lot of great things in her life. I see why. I see how. Because the way she thinks, it's always room for more growth. Now we fasting. I'm about to double up on my fasting. I'm gonna do fasting every other day. I'm gonna fast this. Just pushing herself mentally, physically, spiritually, challenging herself. She already been challenged in her life, but still able to maintain no matter what's going on in her life. Because she always looking for room for growth. That's what I want to attach myself to when it comes to people and ideas around that. Yeah, I know this thing right here is working and it's good. How can I be better? That's the things that we can always learn and grow through. Same thing with what Coach Lucky said. Nah, there's certain things that we grow in that we initially grow out of. Yeah, this thing worked at a particular time. It worked for this circumstance. It worked for this environment. It worked for here. But how can we learn from this situation that's right here? How can we grow to another level out of it? Yeah, we grew into that, but now we got to grow out of this thing by being more innovative. Okay, maybe that's the foundation. That's the building block of that one thing right there. Now it's time to build and level up. Why the level up aspect isn't implemented? How about when people say you're doing good, but yeah, you still got some more room for growth? Or how about you tell yourself that, hey, I did good today. How can I be better tomorrow? Because what happened over time is that you start building up that level of tolerance, that Warren Buffett mindset. 500 a day. You initially started out reading 1 page a day to 10 pages a day to 100 pages a day. The man reads 500 pages a day. More data, more intellect, more things to choose from, more things to associate with, more things to disconnect with, more ways to get to truth. And that's the whole premise of oneself. How do you arise to truth? How do we know what's true out there? We've never been tested, or we don't go into areas where things are different. Laura Boyd said the way we grow is by challenging ourselves. You've never challenged yourself. How do you expect to grow? How do you expect to grow? And I know that there's something on the other side of our dialogue that you want in your life that you want more of. Or if you don't have it at all, you want. There's some things in your life that I know that you want to dismiss of, some things that you're not proud of, some things that you just want to let go of. How about we can rewrite those stories today, past, present, and future, and we can change the order of them things today. You got the power to do that. Now that we know that it's possible, now that we know that that thing is we have awareness that people can do that, that you have the power to do that. See, the reason why I didn't never rise to these conclusions because I never knew that they existed. I never looked at time in that manner. I never looked at my past, present, or future in that same context. I always thought that what's happening now is the now. What happened in the past was already done. What's going on in the future is yet to be seen. I didn't know that I got the power to change my future right now. I didn't know I had the power to change what happened in the past by how I associate. I could dismiss, let go of, or just rewrite the narrative of that story in the past. I didn't know that. Now that I'm aware of it, I'm like, oh, so what that means is time is not a linear thing. I could change the order of events. I could change how I associate with things when I associate with things. I actually could be living in my future right now. There's some changes that's going to happen to where I already see myself in a different space, different area, different mindset, different accomplishments already there. I'm already there by living in it right now because that's where my perspectives draw me to. That's how I choose to label oneself. That's how I tend to act. I want to act in accordance to where I want to be. So the more and more I know that it requires some level of responsibility, some levels of discipline, I start looking at myself and comparing myself to people and things and environments of that level of prestige. When it comes to mindset of, you know what, this is good, but we can make it better. Take that from Mama Love. When I see people in spaces of financial literacy, okay, John Hope Bryant, okay, this boy, he knows what he's talking about when he's dealing with money. So okay, let me get more financially astute by being a student, being in this area, have more conversations around money. How about the gym? Okay, who's out there that's disciplined in the gym, that's focused like that? Who accomplished David Goggins? How do he exercise? What is his mentality? How does he prep his day? The routines that he carry out. Okay, I got people that I could just look at. Okay, where I get some of this business acumen from? Where I get the discipline? Where do I get my prayer from? I started praying more, get more in tune with it. Yeah, I slipped up. I slipped. We human. There's times where I have my deposits and some withdrawals. Whatever I give my attention to, I tend to draw my energy there. But now I want to come up with a system and a routine that'll bring me to where I want to be at. And this is what I'm saying that you can create for your own life. You can create that story. You can create that narrative. You can create that system. You can create that happening. You can create that serendipity, them seeds that you plant that will lead you to a better tomorrow. You can do all of these things. There's an endless amount of possibilities. You can maximize your potential. There's nobody stopping you but you. There's nobody stopping you but you. Because they could do things physically to us, but they can't never capture this unless we give them keys to the mind. If we give them the keys to our own mind, then we ain't got nothing now. Now we ain't got nothing. Now all of the possibilities are predicated upon somebody else's thoughts on what they think or what the belief that they have within oneself or the belief that they have in you. Callie, what's up, loved one? Callie in the building. What's good, loved one? Now what we do? We give the keys and the power to somebody else. Now we stuck in a position to where we can't make ourselves out of it because we don't have autonomy no more. We don't have we don't have the power. We powerless. We gave all of our power away. And we wondering why our circumstances can't change. People are tug of war and pulling us in every direction. We not sent it. And since we ain't sent it, we don't got control over who we are, and what we doing and where we going. We have no direction. We can't create purpose. We can't design purpose because purpose is created and designed. You know, we are born with certain attributes that give us certain leverages, right? You may be a good X, Y, and Z at this one particular thing, but we can use that vehicle to get us to where we need to get to. We can use that as a stepping stone. We could use that as an entry level. You know what? I'm good at this. Let me open up the door for this because I know on the back of this, I'm tending to go here. That's the strength that we have. That's the power that we have. But we need to be reminded of it more frequently. We need more people to identify. We need to get around more environments that people that support the same ideologies, even if they have different belief systems. But if it's for a progressive thought, if it's for more of a thought provoking insight, if it's still built around challenges, if we still um around wanting to be a better individual, I think it supports how you think, even if it's combative, even if it's more thought provoking. Now we be able to get in think tanks and brainstorm. Now we can go out there and just put ourselves in uncomfortable positions because, like we said with Laura Boyd, is that the only way the mind grows is when it gets challenged. So the more challenges that we come up against, the more things that we're able to do that will enable us to get to and from. Come on, loved ones, we got the power to do it. We got the power to do it. The only people that's stopping us is ourselves. The only people that's stopping us is ourselves. Man, if there's anything that anybody want to say, um, the floor is open. You know, I'm long with it. I could talk all day, but primarily, I just want to make sure that we hit home some of those keynotes about who we are, where we going, and how we can design a purpose, how we can rearrange and change the order of events of past, present, and future. Because right now, we can write the future in our present. We can change the narrative on how we associated things in the past. We can look at them things as, occurrences that served in a way to be a serendipity, to be something that happened initially, we don't know why, or occurrence that just happened by accident, quote unquote, will be associated as such, but then it turned out to be something favorable. Myron Golden says only thing he think about is favorable outcomes. Joe, how you doing, loved one? Tell Mike I said what's good. Yeah, we can do these things. We can do these things. I'm just all about progressive thought. And the more that we have these open conversations around these things, it gives us more insight and more tools to work with for a better tomorrow. Because if we don't have these things open about our emotions, how we feel about these things, about our thoughts, about our perspectives, if we don't get challenged in these areas, we don't have the data to make a educated guess, a higher probability guess. Like Warren Buffett, we don't have those 500 pages that we take it from out of a book with all of the data to where we make a sound decision, higher probability decision that could yield a higher return on our investment. Everything isn't right, but we can make right through we can get perfection through flaw. We can get perfection through flaw, trial and error, cause and effect. Everything in nature is dealing with that. The lion go attack the zebra because in his nature he got to eat. He not killing the zebra just to kill the zebra. I seen times where lions walk right past the zebra, maybe just finished eating. But out of survival, it's necessary. Out of survival is necessary. So we think more closely associated with nature of how we do things. I think that we can, change how we just look at life. There's certain things we're gonna do that's, just for survival. And then everything else we just dealing with is pure innovation, pure thought, pure creation, pure purpose driven, designing your purpose, who you are. I think all of these things serve a purpose to a higher level. We different than animals in that nature because we dealing with thought. We dealing with, that level of innovation, which I know animals have a different way of communicating, but it's pretty much survival. That's how they operate. But we are purpose driven. We are higher specimen. So today's been a powerful build. If I said anything that caused some dismay to a degree, if I offended in some form or fashion, understand my intent wasn't to do so. It's just more or less about uh coming to truth in some way by the conversation, through dialogue. It's all about getting to and from a place of being submerged in thoughts and beliefs that don't serve us, and we keep verifying the life that we don't want. I want to be able to remove ourselves from that and let each other know that we have the power to do that with oneself, with the help of each other, by just having the open dialogue. And then we can use some of the tools from, I can use your story of how you overcame this X, Y, and Z thing. I can use my own self from the things I've gone through and say, you know what, I've been through X, Y, and Z. This is how I got myself out of it. And I know that, hey, there's a pattern here. If I repeat this pattern that served me to a higher level or help me get through this one thing, that means I know how to problem solve when I faced with this similar type of situation. Now I'm dealing with different levels of prudence. I have wisdom that's instilled now. So now I have a different level of understanding. Now I can make my intuition will heighten because now I've seen things like this over and over and over and over again. And now I build myself up to have a different level of awareness when it comes to some of these things. So um, if some of the information that we shared tonight can serve or can challenge or can utilize, I would love for you to experience it in any way that you can. Come back and share with us your thoughts after seeing it, hearing it. If you've been through this 99 times and you can share what didn't work, I think that is so valuable. More or less than even telling us what did work, because now we know what to look out for when there's some patterns or some things are off, when there's some conversations that don't need to be had or had, that we can dismiss. So tonight was a beautiful build. I'm super appreciative that everybody that attended, everybody that came up, that just showed their face, engaged, disengaged. It lets me know that you care enough to show support just by being aware and say, you know what, hey, what's going on over here? I'm respectfully great. Let me go tap in with the loved ones over here, just to have my presence felt. And I tell you that every time people come and they show just face, it brings so much joy and more drive and incentive for me to come back to the drawing board and show up better than I did the day before. And I'm super appreciative, and continuously I want to give nothing but love, libations, and just great sentiment towards everybody that's here in real time. Also, next week I have a special guest. My brother Floody will be in the building. My brother Floody Jules will be in the building. Next week we're gonna be talking about some real estate. So we're talking about some business things, man. It's so beautiful when we're able to connect on so many levels. I've seen this brother going through so many transformations, and it's just constantly getting better. And I'm excited because I learned from him. Uh the drive, the passion. These are some of the things I want to constantly chip away and attach to my own armor. And let me get some of that. Let me get some of that, that drive. Let me get some of that sauce. Let me get some of that mindset that, what, let's go for the next thing. Let's go bigger. Let's go harder. Let's go, let's tackle more of this. Let's put more on our plate. Let's go, bite off, let's go gnaw on the big bone. Let's go out there and get right and make sure that we are building up our community in the same form of fashion and changing their lives for future wealth. So my brother Floody Jules will be in the building next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m. We'll be in the building on all of the beautiful platforms, StreamYard, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Tap in with the Facebook family. This is new to the guard, but we will be here. And for the future, we're gonna still keep knocking this thing out the park and get better as we go. If you know some great individuals out there that want to share their stories and they have something to offer our community, I'm always looking to have the conversation because I think we can bring out so much more from other walks of life. Whether they look like you, they don't look like you. If they in the business that you're in, they not in the business that you're in. They 9 to 5 workers, or they, creators in some form of fashion. I love to have the dialogue because I love to see what brought them to the place that they are in right now and what allows them to keep going and how many lives they're able to change, even if it's only the life for themselves. If they change, how they think anywhere once in one place, or they had a ideology about a particular thing and it just continuously go. Hey, what's up, loved one? And it just continuously um, learning throughout their own journeys. So I think it's just powerful when we have these dialogues, when we're able to share the same sentiments or oppose, and we're just able to have great dialogue to get to truth. And that's primarily the whole thing, is that we're able to get to a place of truth. So that's the whole premise of us building up our platform, respectfully great. I'm super appreciative of everybody that showed up once again. It's nothing but big love. Go out there and tackle your goals. Don't let nobody discourage you. If somebody has an opinion about you, understand that your opinion is the one that matters more than anybody. Your perspective, because you're the one that designed the world that you're living in, and we can verify the world that we're living in, or we can not verify the world that we don't want to live in. So that means that we got to dismiss of it. We got to withdraw from that ideology, that spirituality, that physicality, that mentality. We can let go of some of these things, and then we can start reinvesting and making deposits in the areas where we want the growth to come from, or the personnel, or the people, or the environment, or the things that we know we want to serve us on a higher level. More solution based individuals, not the ones that's attaching ourselves to constant problems, because we know those things exist, but it's all about perspective. So today, once again, super blessed, super appreciative. And I look forward to seeing you all next week, 7 o'clock, with my special guest, Floody Jules. Next week, be in tune. Anybody that's dealing with real estate, anybody want to know about wealth building, anybody want to know about insurance, anybody want to know about all of these great things. My brother has studied, has worked, sold so many homes. I can't even count up the millions that he sold in real estate. And he's just constantly keep learning and growing. I'm proud of him. And I'm giving the flowers before time. And I'm gonna give him some more flowers next week when he show up on our podcast. So let's get right. And I will see you again next week, 7 p.m. on the Respectfully Great podcast. Love you all. Love yourself more. Respectfully. Mm-mm.